Then I watched the other Balboa dancers, and most of them weren't doing that basic. They were doing something else. And so I was still intrigued by just what Balboa really is.
Now this is the million-dollar question, or I should say the million-dollar credit you deserve, obviously, for a lot of people that have been dancing this style of dancing for a number of years have heard the term bow swing used. And a few people know that it was Dwight that came up with that term. And I guess the best thing to do is have you tell the story, because you're the one.
Yeah, well, picking up from watching Willie, a dancer I'd heard of, who I'd never seen before, but heard great things for him, was Maxie Dorn. And but Maxie wasn't around. There's all sorts of stories about the gambling debts, all sorts of stuff. You just couldn't find the guy. And Hank knew him and talked him into teaching me, and all I wanted to do was see the basic step that Maxie did for Balboa. Well, here's the confusion. Hank thought that Maxie was a swing dancer, and he wanted to learn a bunch of swing moves. It's a different dance, not Lindy. This is a different dance. We're not talking about the Lindy. And so for 6 months, I learned all the swing moves, and I learned a lot from him, and didn't get to the Balboa until near the end. And with Maxie, with Hank and Willie and Dean Collins and all these dancers, when you talk Balboa or you talk swing, you knew what they meant. There were two different terms. With Maxie, you'd say swing, and he was known as a swing dancer. Sometimes he meant swing like they did in LA in the 30s. And sometimes he meant swing like the West Coast swing that was done in the LA Swing Club. So when he said, well, now we're going to do some swing, or now we're going to do some Balboa, I said, well, which swing are you talking about, Max? Because sometimes you talk about one, sometimes you talk about that. So I coined the expression with Maxie, bow swing. We're talking about the way they did swing at the Diana Ballroom over Montebello and stuff like that. Not whips and sugar pushes and I don't know, that type of dance. And that's where the bow swing came up.
And what year was that?
It'd be late 83, and early 84. Shortly before Dean Collins died.
So that's where it came from. And is it true also, I guess, at that time you also were learning or from Dean Collins too?
Yes, I'd been learning from Dean Collins. That was kind of an interesting story. I was taking lessons from Willie. Willie was showing me Balboa and stuff. And Willie said, well, you know, I'm a student too. I take the Lindy from Dean Collins. And when he said the Lindy, it was capital T, you could tell. And I thought, boy, here's the greatest dancer I've ever seen was taking lessons from another guy who had a terrific reputation, was Dean Collins. So I thought, you had to be really good to be taking lessons from Dean Collins. But so it took about a year before I had enough nerve. I met Dean at a dance, and I got enough nerve to ask him, can I join your class? And he said, oh, sure, anyway. He told me how to get there. And that's where I learned a lot about Lindy and that style. And he was also instrumental in talking about the dance scene in the late 30s and in the 40s in Southern California.
Obviously, you went to Bobby McGee's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And to this day, I suppose, I guess we're still talking about it a lot as to what the basic footwork is and all this stuff. And I think one thing that's very interesting that you've been quite aware of a lot more than any of the teachers today anyways, is the fact that as long as you're in that pocket or that groove of rhythm, of Balboa rhythm, actually the follower can be doing something different than the leader.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that made Balboa so hard to figure out, is because the woman wasn't necessarily mirroring the guy. Often they were, and that was sort of easier to see. Sometimes it's easier to see the girls' footwork because sometimes they would lift their foot off the ground a little bit on like a kick. Usually not. Guys never. The guys were always, their feet were right on the floor. They're always moving their feet. You couldn't tell if their weight was on where their weight was and all that stuff.